And so here's the message that I received, and let's just blow this up so we can look at it a little closer. And the message basically is, "Hi, Michael. My name is John Doe, and I work for Company X in Houston. Company X is a nationwide firm that provides outsourced, fractional, and temporary CFO, controller, and operational accounting services tailored for your business. Also, Company X has a dedicated team that specializes in capital raise. Please indicate if you're interested in learning more about how Company X can be a resource to your business," and then his email signature. So a couple things that I think he does okay, which is, first of all, it's definitely not a pushy, pesky salesperson type of message. So that alone puts him ahead of probably 90% of the LinkedIn cold email messages that I receive. But don't get me wrong, there's plenty of room for improvement. And one of the most critical things that I think we can all focus on in our cold email messages is focusing on the word count. Treat each word like valuable real estate, and real estate that you don't want to waste. You want to use each space that a word takes up in the most optimum way. In the first sentence, he introduces his name and the company he works for. Totally unnecessary. When I receive his message, I see his name. When I look at his email, I see his signature. So by using an entire sentence to share and introduce his name and the company he works for is a waste of extremely valuable real estate. And he actually goes on to mention the company name 3 additional times. So again, wasting more valuable space. When you create your cold email messages, what I recommend you do, treat it like a suitcase that you're packing for a 2-week trip. Look at each word and say, do I really need that? Are there words or is there a sentence that I can get rid of while keeping my message and what I'm trying to communicate exactly the same? And so what I would like to do is take what he sells and create a more compelling message and use a process for that. And you can copy this process for what you sell. And the process that I went through to improve his message is basically our sales message brainstorming process. I've also gone through this process in deep detail in other videos. So I'll include a link to another video where I go through this process in the description. But what I did is I went through this step-by-step process to organize the things that this salesperson should communicate when he's talking to prospects. When you go through that process, each step and all those bullet points basically helps you to create building blocks. And you can then use those building blocks for a cold email campaign. You can use each block for an individual message and then tell the story of how you can help and what you have to offer the prospect over a series of emails. Email 1 might be focused on the improvements that he can deliver. And so this is an actual template that you can copy. What I've done is I've color-coded the text to indicate what those points are so that you can replace those points with your points if you go through our brainstorming process. But these main points here in email 1 are the value points, and these are basically the improvements that he can deliver with his product or service. And then email 2 uses the pain points that he can make go away. And then email 3 outlines a customer example that he helped. And then email 4 shares some of the questions that he would like to ask if he was given the opportunity to talk to the prospect. And then email 5 starts to introduce the product that he sells as he continues to try to educate the prospect on what he has to offer and why it might make sense to talk to him. And then email 6 goes back to the value points and is a last attempt message before we start to walk away. Now, I personally think that that message is much more compelling, educates the prospect a lot more, and allows you to send multiple emails to the prospect, improving the odds of getting their attention and possibly connecting with them. Although when you're using LinkedIn InMail, I believe that you cannot send multiple messages to the same prospect. So here are a couple versions that consolidate some of those different blocks into single messages so that you can educate the prospect more within just one message if you can only send one message. So option 1 is using the value points and then the product building block. So this starts out by sharing how you help other small businesses, and then introducing the product or service as the way you are able to create or deliver those improvements. Option 2 is a similar message, but so it starts out by mentioning the pain points that you help to make go away, and then it introduces the product as the way that you help to address those pain points. Now, what I would recommend is sending those 6 messages. So if you still want to do messages through LinkedIn, what you would have to do is actually send the prospect an invitation to connect, and that way you can send multiple cold email messages to their LinkedIn inbox. And that's what I think most salespeople do, is they use that approach. What I would actually recommend is not doing any of that. What I would actually recommend is, instead of sending one InMail message, or instead of trying to become connections and then sending messages to the LinkedIn inbox, what I recommend you do is actually use LinkedIn to find the target prospects that you want to connect with. But don't connect with them through LinkedIn. Send them email messages to their business email inbox. And you may think, well, I have to connect on LinkedIn because I don't have their email address. And here's the trick. We actually use a tool inside of SalesScripter called the Email Guesser. And what the Email Guesser does is that it helps you to guess the prospect's email address if you have 3 pieces of information. If you have the first name, the last name, and the company website address, what the Email Guesser will do is that it will run a test ping against the most common combinations of those values, because most prospects, their business email inbox is most likely some combination of those 3 values. And the great thing about LinkedIn is that you can get those 3 pieces of information extremely quickly from a prospect's LinkedIn profile. And once you enter those into the Email Guesser, within a few seconds, you have their business inbox email address, and then you can start sending your cold email messages to that without connecting and without sending LinkedIn InMail messages. So not only does this help to shortcut your LinkedIn process by completely removing the request to connect step, but it gets your cold email messages to the prospect's business email inbox, which I personally believe is a much better place for your message to be seen, to be retained, and to be read. Now, if everything I just shared with you is interesting and you want a little bit more information, I've actually gone through that process in more detail in a cold email prospecting workshop. And what I'll do is I'll include links to those videos in the description below. And as part of that cold email workshop, we actually have a special offer where we are offering everything you need to do what we demonstrate in that workshop. And we're calling it our cold email jumpstart package. And jumpstart is the key word here, because you're going to get everything you need to actually jumpstart your cold email prospecting effort. And not just jumpstart by having everything you need, but jumpstart by actually getting this going really quickly, because we're actually going to do a lot of the work for you and help you to get everything set up. And in as little as a few days from you actually purchasing this package, you could have cold email messages going out to your target prospects. But with this package, you'll get 6 months of the SalesScripter Pro software subscription, which provides our full access to our software and everything you need to do the cold email prospecting with our CRM, our email guesser, and our automated email campaigns. And then I will actually personally spend 2 hours with you to go through our sales message brainstorming process to create your sales message and brainstorm the benefits that you should focus on, the pain points you should focus on, the questions you should be asking. And then I will provide another 5 hours to actually take the email templates that SalesScripter generates and build off of those email templates to create a custom tailored cold email campaign. And then we will actually provide 50 hours of scanning LinkedIn for your target prospects and running the email guesser to actually load up your CRM with target prospects and add those prospects to your cold email campaign. So the total price for this is $2,591, and the promotional offer is a $1,000 discount, providing a total price of $1,591 to get started. And this is a limited time offer. we're just putting that because we are uploading videos with this offer to YouTube, which the videos will live there for a long time. And so we do reserve the right to modify this pricing or not necessarily offer this promotion down the road because pricing can change. But if you do come across this package down the road and you're interested, reach out to us. Most likely we'll still honor it. So just let us know. And that's pretty much it. If you have any questions or want more information, the best place to go is salescriptor.com. If you want more tips, there are plenty of videos there with helpful tips. There are ebooks you can download for free. If you have questions on the product of SalesScriptor, that's the best place to go. There are videos that demonstrate all of the different features of the software. And if you want to contact us, that's the best place to go. You can get our phone number, email address, and there's a chat window as well. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you on the next video. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.